And a good morning, or afternoon, evening, whenever you guys are catching this video. I'm just happy you're along for the ride for this review, analysis, and reaction of Monday Night Raw, Monday, February 10th, 2020. And actually, lo and behold, it was a good show! Now, usually if I say Raw was a good show, I'm talking about something that happened either at the start and or the finish of the program. But for last night, it was the opposite. The start and finish was status. In the middle of the show, nearly the entire middle was good, was solid. And we're going to talk about it in this video. Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch, what just happened? Randy Orton and Matt Hardy captivating as all hell, just like Edge and Orton from a couple of weeks ago. Even Drew McIntyre and MVP in the VIP lounge was good shit. So we're going to talk all about this program in just a couple of minutes, but because I haven't talked to you guys in a couple of days, I kind of want to go over some top news stories over the last 48 hours. I'll go over them in rapid fire approach, so we'll get that done quick and get to the review. But I want to go over some top news stories since it has been a couple of days. And the first story I want to go over coincides with Monday Night Raw last night anyway, so it makes the most sense to talk about Matt Hardy, because we saw last night Randy Orton destroy him, just like he did Edge a couple of weeks ago. The only difference is we knew Edge just signed a new contract, so he's coming back to start this feud the right way with Randy Orton. With Hardy, when we saw that last night, a lot of us in the know, we kind of assumed that that was WWE writing Matt Hardy off of TV, because we've known for a while now that Hardy and McMahon have been at odds. Hardy has been contemplating his future, and Vince McMahon has barely been using Matt Hardy. And when he does, it's to make him look weak. And then we saw what happened last night, and that was the first thought that entered my dome piece. Uh-oh, was that the last time we saw Hardy in WWE, at least for this run? And afterwards, we heard from Ryan Satin, who isn't the be-all, end-all of WWE news, but he has been working much more closely with WWE, so he tends not to like to open his mouth lately unless he truly has some type of confirmation. Satin says indeed that was them writing Matt Hardy off of TV last night, and if that wasn't proof enough, Matt Hardy went on social media and just said goodbye. So he has even said goodbye. If that isn't him saying so long to WWE, I don't know what else would be. If this was a storyline, Matt Hardy would play it off like he can't go on social media, right? But if he goes on 30 minutes later and says goodbye to his fans, that goes to tell you that that was the last you have seen of Matt Hardy in WWE. Unless in the future, and it'll be years, trust me, because the next contract he signs, which is probably going to be AEW, is probably going to be at least 3 years. So you're not going to see Matt Hardy in WWE unless he's being inducted into the Hall of Fame years from now, I'm guessing. But unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because I know how much Matt Hardy can bring to the business. He may not be the wrestler he once was, but he can still put on and put together good matches. But on top of that, he's got the dome piece for this business. In WWE, there's two dudes that I know have the most creativity, and they don't wear a suit and a tie. It's Matt Hardy and it's Bray Wyatt, so it sucks to see one of them go, but for AEW, which again I am assuming is going to capture him, for AEW, their company just got 10 times better, because when you can get creative minds into your establishment, into your four walls, you, my friend, just got 10 times better. So we wish Matt Hardy nothing but the best in his future endeavors, and I know he is going to make the best out of it. Look what he did in TNA. Impact. Look what he did. He put them on the map bigger than they ever have been before. And that's with Hulk Hogan in there. The Kevin Nashes. Stinger. Ric Flair. TNA Impact has had all those superstars. But when he was doing that ultimate deletion, that's when people like even yours truly had to tune into Impact. Had to tune into TNA. Because that was some good shit. I didn't understand all of it, but I knew I had to tune in. And that's what he does. You could put him in any environment. Matt Hardy will thrive. Same way as people like Bray Wyatt and such. Now, sticking with the Hardy theme, it's the opposite for his brother Jeff, because we're hearing speculation of his return in the near future. My question is, how near are we talking about? Because Jeff Hardy's next court date is Monday, April 6th. That is one day after WrestleMania. So you would have to think that WWE, that Vince McMahon would wait until this whole ordeal, this whole court case is closed with Jeff Hardy. There's no reason to bring him back before WrestleMania. The card is going to be ultra jam-packed anyway. Why rush Jeff Hardy into that? So even though the story that broke within the last 48 hours is Jeff Hardy's return is being speculated to be imminent, I don't see why you would bring him back before the court case is closed. And on top of that, you really want to make sure he is definitely in the right mental state. He is really ready to come back full-time for WWE. So I have no issue at all if they want to take their time on this. I don't see why he needs to come back. Now, we love Jeff. We want nothing but the best for him. But the dude's got a lot of issues that he needs to get into check. He doesn't need to be rushing back by WrestleMania 36. No reason. Remains to be seen, but that's what we're hearing. Injury-wise, he's ready to go. And now it's just clearing up all of this court BS and all of his personal BS that he has to get out of the way. Once he clears that up, gets in the right mental state, Jeff Hardy's got one more big-time run left in him. But if you're not right in the don't piece, it doesn't matter if you're right physically. You know what I mean? They have to be working together. So on one hand, I was kind of happy to hear the news. And on the other hand, I was like, whoa, this might still be too soon for Jeff. So what a weird news story day, right? Matt Hardy's saying goodbye, and we're hearing Jeff Hardy's coming back. We'll see, guys. His contract was supposed to end around March, early March, so even before WrestleMania. But obviously, with all of this injury time, Vince McMahon has done this new thing within the last 2 years where he's taking that injury time, because he always could. He just never used to utilize this. Now, because he has competition, he's actually taking the injury time and he's adding it onto your contract because he can legally do that. So if you add the other, what's going to ultimately be 9 months to a year when it's all said and done, you're looking at 2021, Jeff Hardy can't leave. So no matter what Matt does outside of WWE, Jeff cannot join him for at least another year. At least that's what it looks like. So that's on that side of the things. Speaking of, well, if we're talking news stories, how about The Rock's daughter, Simone Johnson? She has officially reported to the Performance Center in Orlando at the age of 18 years old. So The Rock's daughter, Simone, who we knew has been training for a while, she has officially reported to the Performance Center, guys, and she's only 18 years old. Could you just imagine her and her dad, The Rock, as a tag team at WrestleMania? Possibly, say, 3 years from now, right? Simone will be 21 years old at that point. The Rock will just be turning 50. What a way for The Rock to call it quits once and for all in the most epic of ways. Tagging up with his daughter, taking on, say, Triple H and Stephanie. They weren't able to do that with The Rock and Ronda Rousey. That was the initial plan a couple years ago. But what if they did that with Simone and The Rock? You set up the right storyline, and that's how The Rock ends his career, man, with his daughter. I think that's just awesome. I think Triple H and Stephanie, that would be the perfect match a few years from now, too. That would probably be their last match as well. I'm already thinking all these things, man. And Simone, from what I'm hearing, busting her ass every day she's in that ring, and I'm hearing she's getting better and better. So, we'll see, man. It's intriguing, you know. It'll be good to have this fourth-generation superstar and just a break from the blonde bombshell brigade. You know what I mean? This will be something a little different with Simone. And just the look, the feel. And hopefully she's got that personality and those... Man, just that charisma of The Rock. That'll be interesting for that women's division. But she has officially reported at the age of 18 years old to the Performance Center. Speaking of WrestleMania 37's location has been revealed. It'll be going back to the West Coast next year, Hollywood. More specifically, Inglewood. So, interesting, man. We haven't even gotten Tampa out of the way, and we're already talking about California next year. But WWE has made that official. WrestleMania going back to California, Hollywood next year. Another topic that has been discussed in the last 24 hours, speculation of UFC's Jon Jones entering the pro wrestling world. That is no longer speculation. From Jon Jones's mouth himself, in his own words, he says, him winding up in WWE is inevitable. So Jon Jones already has his mindset on WWE. What do you guys feel about that? How do you feel about it? Is this going to be another Cain Velasquez type situation where he was big in UFC, but when he got to WWE, it was kind of like the personality isn't quite there. At least with Jon Jones, he has a bigger personality, but is he going to be as big in pro wrestling, more specifically WWE, as he was in UFC? I don't know. I'm holding some reservations on that. I'm hoping it works out because according to Jon Jones, Vince McMahon and him are going to do business in the near future. He said it's inevitable. So Jon Jones is coming. It's just a matter of timing. And lastly, there's still no word on why Dash Wilder, out of the blue, deactivated his social media account. Scott Dawson, his tag team partner in the Revival, as of the making of this video, still has his up and running. So that's why there's a little bit of concern for Dash Wilder. I wouldn't be too concerned, though, because this is a growing trend with these superstars. We've seen at one point in time, Nia Jax totally deactivated, Rollins totally deactivated, Dominik Dijakovic, Jordan Miles, Mauro Ranallo, the Young Bucks, now Dash Wilder, so many other superstars at one point or another have totally deactivated. A lot of them still to this day, still deactivated. So the growing trend of just superstars kind of weighing out the positives and negatives of social media and coming to the conclusion that it's just not helping them in any way, shape, or form. That it's not doing anything for them. So you got to totally understand that. Even Mauro Ranallo in that interview that he put out over a week ago, when I read that, yours truly even had to stop in his tracks and think about shit. And that's what I did. Since 2020 has started, I've been so busy, but I found myself feeling like I was forced to put out content for you guys on social because of the position I'm in. But when I feel like I'm forced to do something, I'm no longer having fun. And if I'm not having fun doing it, I don't want to do it. And when I read that from Mauro Ranallo, it just made me think. And for over a week now, I have not been on social media, and it's been awesome. And I don't even mind social. I enjoy being on there for the most part. But you don't realize how much time it's taking from you and how much time it's consuming out of you. And for these superstars especially, they travel, they have a lot of downtime. So I'm sure they're on it a lot, and a lot of it can be toxic in the social media world. So I think a lot of these superstars are just realizing that it's not doing me any good. It's actually putting me in a bad place, mentally speaking. So that could be what this is with Dash Wilder. I don't want to speak for him, but I wouldn't be too concerned. He may have just said, you know what, I don't want to do it anymore. And again, yours truly totally understands now more than ever, because when you start taking on more in life and you start to get more busier, you start to realize, you start to prioritize. And maybe Wilder is doing that just like a lot of these superstars. So I wouldn't be too concerned yet, guys, but as of the making of this video, there still is no word on why out of the blue Dash Wilder just deactivated. But I will totally say that I'll reiterate what Mauro Ranallo told everyone a couple weeks ago. I'll reiterate that and say every once in a while to all you guys, don't forget to just take some time off of social media. You will be doing yourself a great service, and you'll probably be a lot happier in the process. Trust me, trust Mauro Ranallo, man. And Dash Wilder and everyone else that is taking time away. Whether that's totally deactivating or not, that's another story. Me, I just take breaks and I just totally fucking go away. I love it. Yeah, they call us drifters. I call myself a very knowledgeable sumbitch that knows exactly what he's doing, man. And I know that when I feel I'm taking on too much, when I know that other things need my attention, they are going to get my attention. And social media will forever take a back seat, I assure you. So all the best to Dash Wilder. I'm sure it's nothing. I'm sure he just said enough. I need to prioritize and focus on what truly matters. All the best to Dash Wilder. Shall we do this? Monday Night Raw, February 10th, 2020. Finally, BC. It's only taken 57 minutes, man. We kick off with all four members of the Architects of Pain, middle of the ring. Rollins says he has a message and he's not leaving that ring until that message is heard. Kevin Owens hits the top of the ramp. He says, I'm not alone. The Viking Raiders join him. Okay. At this moment, I'm thinking this is doing nothing for me. I've been seeing for the last several weeks them coming out and just brawling with Architects of Pain. It leads to nothing. It gets no feeling or emotion out of me. And I'm sure for a lot of you guys the same. They need to spice it up. Give us something new than them just brawling or having some type of schmaz match. Spice it up, man. Get creative. So now the Viking Raiders are joining Owens, and all I'm thinking is, great, what's going to happen? You're going to come to the ring and are you guys going to brawl? Wow, haven't seen that before between all of you. And that's what happened. They start rushing the ring. Buddy Murphy and the AOP meet them at the bottom of the ramp. They all start brawling. Rollins is still middle of the ring. Samoa Joe returns to Raw, gets Seth Rollins in the coquina clutch. So Samoa Joe got Rollins nicely. This was a good little setup by Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe and the Viking Raiders. So I guess in a small little way, they spiced it up. But immediately, AOP and Buddy Murphy leaked back into the ring to jump Samoa Joe. That brought Owens and the Viking Raiders back in. And before you knew it, everybody was brawling in the middle of the ring again. That's what I didn't need to see. It all ended with Owens stunnering Buddy Murphy, and the Architects of Pain retreated to the back, leaving all the faces to celebrate in the middle of the ring. And this all set up the main event, which is an 8-man schmaz match. All of those individuals. And that's what I mean. You heard me earlier say this was actually a good show. Usually that means they had a badass top and bottom, start and finish to the show. No, the start and the finish was actually mediocre as all hell. It was actually things I didn't even need to see because I've already seen it before. And again, that whole opening brought us to the main event, which I'll get to in just a little bit. But it was a schmaz match main event. So what made this a good show? Everything that happened afterwards. And we started with the first match of the night, the Raw Women's Championship. Champion Becky Lynch taking on challenger Asuka. If I said it once, I've said it a million times. I just really enjoy these two in the middle of that ring together. They work great together, they have incredible chemistry, and you truly believe that both are doing everything under the sun to try to win that match and claim victory. You feel their struggle, you get lost in their emotion, and take the wild ride with them. And that's all I ask for, not just in a women's wrestling match, but in a pro wrestling match in general. And these two do it every time. This one was no different. They gave these two ladies 20 minutes in that ring last night. 20 minutes to do their thing. Asuka had this thing won 27 different times, but they didn't bother booking Becky Lynch last night. They booked Super Becky last night. And when this thing was all said and done, it was one of those awkward rock bottoms from Becky Lynch that ended it for Asuka. Becky Lynch ends up winning this match and retaining her championship. Yes, I don't like Asuka losing twice to Becky Lynch within just a few weeks' time. But a match like that, a 20-minute dedication, Asuka looking strong for a lot of it, a lot of yin-yang between the two, I'm okay with this. I just wish I knew. I wish I was reassured that there was going to be something much bigger and better for Asuka going forward. But it looks like they're just going to defend the tag titles, Asuka and Kairi, against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross in the future. So I don't see how that's any better from where she just was. It looks like that's going to be a decline in storytelling. And just because you lose a title match doesn't mean you have to decline in storytelling. You have 714 creative writers supposedly in that billion-dollar company. Act like it. But we saw it with Asuka when she lost her championship match at SummerSlam with Bayley, and then she went into irrelevancy. We saw it with Sasha Banks when she lost at Hell in a Cell against Becky Lynch in that title match. Sasha Banks went into obscurity. And now who knows what happens to Asuka. But as far as performance-wise, they both come out as winners to me because of that performance. Because they creatively let them go 20 minutes. And when you devote that type of time and energy, people are going to look badass. You're going to raise their stock. So I felt Asuka's stock, even in loss last night, was raised. I just fear where they go with her from here. That's my problem with it. Afterwards was just as good as the match. Shayna Baszler attacks Becky Lynch from behind. And this was no normal just brawl. This is what I mean about spicing it up. This is what I meant about the 8 individuals to start Raw. They need to spice it up and not just brawl. Shayna could have just attacked Becky Lynch, and that's something we saw before in the past. But instead, she literally bites the back of the neck of Becky Lynch, drawing blood, the whole mouth of Shayna Baszler full of blood. And it was clear that she had a capsule. She bit down on that thing and her whole mouth was full of blood. I thought it was brilliant. Totally badass. And she bit, and it was a deep bite, obviously. They wanted you to believe that she really, she really went in for it. And her whole mouth was just busted, and Becky Lynch is screaming. Medical personnel is down there at ringside, referees. She's yelling, "Did that bitch bite me? Did that bitch?" She was screaming, man. The whole thing was done beautifully. They go to the backstage area. They're trying to get Becky to go to the hospital. She actually takes the ambulance. She drives herself to the hospital. So I thought that was a pretty badass ending to it all. And I just couldn't believe what I saw from Shayna Baszler. They took her character. They took that segment and they raised both up a couple of notches. They spiced it up. They gave us something to talk about. It wasn't just a brawl. Otherwise, I'd just be saying, Shayna attacked Becky after the match. No, we're actually talking about something bigger than that this morning. Because they gave us something bigger than just a brawl. Here's a crazy concept. They used some creativity. They actually took the time to say, hey, what can we do to make this even more grander? And when you do that, you're going to get people talking. When you do that, it's usually going to come out to be pretty damn good and pretty damn badass. Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch last night in hour number 1 was captivating as all hell. That was cool. Shayna was like, no, I ain't here just to beat you up. I'm here to take something from you. You! That was awesome. And Becky Lynch ended up coming back later in the night. She drove the ambulance back to the arena, and Becky Lynch had a message for Shayna Baszler, one way or the other. I'm getting ya! I will come back for you, Shayna. I forgot what she was saying, man. It was so zany. It was so wild. That's what we love about pro wrestling, right? The zaniness, the wildness, taking ambulances. Bringing them back from the hospital. You're telling me the whole time she stole an ambulance, nobody thought to get the ambulance back while she was at the hospital. But it's that type of zaniness I do love, though, man. We've seen crazy shit like that, and that's some of the best things I've seen in pro wrestling. I always think back of the Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair segment a week before WrestleMania last year, when they were all getting arrested and it was just wild. They were stealing police cars. Ronda Rousey is driving a police car while she's handcuffed. That's the shit I love in pro wrestling, man. Yeah, it's out of this world. Yeah, it's almost to a non-believable standpoint. But damn, is it fun. And damn, is there nothing like it in the world. I liked that last night. Hour number 2, wait, was that the end? The actual end of hour number 1 came with Mojo and Moss defeated by the Street Profits. Post-match, Moss rolls up Mojo. This was like a 10-second roll-up. You're telling me a former football player, a former Green Bay Packer couldn't kick out of a fruit roll-up for 10 seconds? We have a new 24/7 champion, and that is Riddick Moss. Turned on his little buddy for his 24/7 championship. Now, hour number 2, we kicked off with the MVP's VIP Lounge. Special guest, Drew McIntyre. This seg was phenomenal. I loved it. And it was simplistic. It was just MVP interviewing Drew McIntyre. But there's so much believability in this. And that's because MVP actually did a damn good job this week. I talked a couple weeks ago about how he didn't look good in that ring wrestling. And that's odd because he's actually been wrestling on the independents since he's left WWE, basically. He hasn't just been on the shelf. He's been wrestling. So it's kind of odd that he looked that bad a couple weeks ago. Well, this week on the stick, that's the MVP that we're used to back in the day. MVP was talking about how he and Drew go way back as travel buddies. And he tells Drew that he needs him to defeat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Drew, in a roundabout way, says no thank you. And goes to walk away, but MVP grabs his arm and pulls him toward him. Tells Drew never to turn his back on him when he's talking to him. Drew delivers a nasty headbutt to MVP, and that's followed by a badass Claymore that sent MVP over his VIP lounge couch. It was beautifully done. MVP was in the right spot. He pulled it off beautifully. The Claymore was badass, and Drew McIntyre got an awesome pop, almost as loud as when his initial music blasted at the forefront. So it's always good when you can hold the audience right to the last moment and not lose them. McIntyre had them all in the palm of his hands at the end of that Claymore kick. And again, MVP catapulted over the lounge couch. Man, those type of situations, those type of moments, those are the ones that get instilled in you, at least for the next week and maybe for months to come. Those are the moments that I like. They could have ended it with a nasty headbutt and a Claymore. No, let's utilize the couch. Let's have you catapulted over the sumbitch. Dedicate more to it. Spice it up. That's the theme of this review. Spice things up. We'll enjoy it that much more, and it'll come off that much better. So I like that VIP lounge, man. And I think that did wonders for Drew McIntyre coming across as a fan favorite. For those casuals that weren't fully on board with McIntyre, I think he gained a lot more last night. And MVP, damn good segment with him. He absolutely made up for that performance a couple weeks ago in the ring. On the stick, MVP can do this VIP lounge week after week, and I'll be okay with it if he keeps that up. MVP over there selling stories, selling WrestleMania stories in there. Next up, Angel Garza took on Cedric Alexander, and before the match even started, Zelina Vega and Garza talk a lot of trash to both Humberto and Mysterio after what happened last week. Humberto hits the ring with intensity and velocity. He takes out Garza. Officials are finally able, after a couple of attempts, to get him to the back, and I'm loving this Humberto. This Humberto could have came out just smiling every week, just like they did with Finn Balor. I used to call him Smiley Finn. Bobby Lashley, when he came back, they had him smiling all over the place. It doesn't work. Remember Rocky Maivia smiling all over the arena? Nobody bought into it. Nobody wanted to see that. We had to turn him into The Rock. And it's the same with Humberto. If he just comes out and smiling and showing off his little dimples, then nobody wants to see that. But now that we have this edgier Humberto, a much more vicious side of him, a much more intense Humberto, I'm liking this Humberto. There's something behind this kid. There's a whole new level he tapped into with this intensity. That's what I like about it. It's not just a little gimmick that they gave him. Hey, kid, maybe if you go out there and be a little more intense. No, it's within him. You can see it. And he goes to another level when he is that Humberto. So I love that. Him and Garza, I'm into that just like I was Andrade and Humberto. In fact, in all honesty, I'm into Garza and Humberto even more than Humberto and Andrade. Just saying, just being honest. And in the future, I can't wait to see Garza and Andrade get it on one-on-one. So I'm just loving this whole Garza and Humberto thing, and that was right after that awesome VIP segment with Drew McIntyre and MVP, and that followed the Becky Lynch Asuka thing. So the whole middle so far is captivating the Amplified, man. I'm into this. Could they keep it going? Well, next up backstage, Sarah Logan walked into a Rhea Ripley interview, and Logan says that Rhea Ripley can't just show up to WWE and start talking this trash. Rhea Ripley says, "Who are you?" So Sarah Logan, after a commercial break, is in the middle of the ring and she's calling out Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley obliges. She comes out and literally, Charlotte Flair, by the way, was out there too. When Rhea came out, Charlotte stood at the top of the ramp to watch this match. She wasn't watching for long. After 41 seconds following a riptide, Rhea Ripley defeated Sarah Logan. Thanks for coming. Thanks for calling me out. Now sit the fuck down. Rhea Ripley, 41 seconds, takes out Charlotte. Now, Rhea Ripley afterwards took the mic and demanded an answer out of Charlotte Flair for a match at WrestleMania for Rhea Ripley's championship. But once again, Charlotte Flair gave no answer. So we're no better off with Charlotte and Rhea than we were before the start of the night. But I like that little altercation between Logan and Ripley. Does a lot for Ripley, doesn't do so much for Logan. Hour number 2 ends with Ricochet defeating Bobby Lashley. So anyone that tried to sell us on the fact that this prolonged Rusev-Lashley storyline was going to lead to something better for both individuals, false. Rusev is on the outs once again with WWE, and he's arguing with Vince McMahon again. That's what we're hearing behind the scenes. That's why you haven't heard from Rusev in a few weeks. He's on the outs again. And Bobby Lashley is just jobbing out to a superhero. Or I'm sorry, Ricochet. So Lashley's jobbing out. Rusev is once again out of WWE. And what was all of that multi-month feud for when none of us were invested into it anyway? BC, relax. It's going to lead to something big between the both. No, it's not. I tried to tell you that. At the jump, it had potential. But man, did that train go off the tracks real quick. Hour number 3. Sip of coffee, and then we'll start hour number 3. Hour number 3. Now, I already liked a few segments in this show, but I wasn't done yet. Randy Orton kicks off the third hour, and the boos are yet again, just like last week, resounding. Before he can explain himself, Matt Hardy comes to the ring. Hardy speaks on the history between he and Edge, and he talked about when they were on the outs with the Lita situation. But he also talked about how they traveled together and even told some personal stories about how they, just to save a few bucks, would all spend nights in the same hotel room. Him, Christian, Edge, his brother Jeff. And how at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, he respected Edge for grinding his way back to what he loves most, and that is professional wrestling. And you, he said, and I quote, you, Randy, you took it all away from him. And it was so passionate, it was so heartfelt, you were hanging on his words, and you knew that he was telling the truth. This isn't just a storyline. I mean, what he is saying, it is a storyline, but what he is saying, these are true words. And coming from Matt Hardy, there's a believability at another level. And he was just on his game on that stick last night. Matt Hardy was phenomenal. And Orton says, Matt, listen. And before he says anything, he goes to RKO out of nowhere, Matt Hardy. Hardy is able to counter it, and he starts fighting Orton back, almost like he knew it was coming. But Orton's RKO finds Hardy anyway, just moments later. Again, RKO takes out Matt Hardy. He wasn't able to fight it off for long. And then Orton takes a chair, puts it underneath the dome piece of Hardy, takes another chair, and just like he did to Edge a few weeks ago, he slammed that sumbitch on top of the dome piece of Matt Hardy. And Hardy was just destroyed. Personnel, referees all coming in to help him out. Randy Orton leaves to even a bigger course, a more resounding course of boos. And again, just like I said at the top of the show, I kind of knew there that was the last time we're going to see Hardy in WWE, at least for a very long time. Or at least that's the way it looks like. That's the way it looks like it's playing out and panning out. And I know there's a lot of people going, well, Vince was not using him anyway, so why even feel like you had to write him off TV? Why not just let him be? Why make him look even weaker? But in all honesty, guys, Hardy actually looked pretty strong there. Hardy, on the mic, it was beautiful. If this was starting an actual feud with Orton, that's the way I would have loved it to start. So Hardy doesn't lose anything with this, A. And B, if you're asking why he felt the need to write Hardy off, it's because look what it did for Orton. If Hardy's leaving, and that is a big name, Randy Orton doing what he did to Edge to Hardy makes perfect sense. And it was incredible. I mean, that was a captivating segment last night. You started with the heartfelt, passionate promo that we were hanging on every word, and then it ends with Hardy suffering the same fate as Edge. Damn it, that's good. That's not just spicing it up. That's literally dumping every season you have into the recipe. Oh man, it was awesome. And I just couldn't believe I'm like, what's going on tonight, man? They did that awesome segment with Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch. And she's taking the ambulance, she's coming back with the ambulance, and then they even Garza and Humberto has been taken up a notch. Drew McIntyre on the VIP lounge and that segment delivered for me. You got Randy Orton doing this type of thing to Matt Hardy. I'm actually seeing them devoting time to these segments, devoting time to the storytelling. This is something they haven't done for years, guys. And when they did it, it was only for like one segment out of a whole 3-hour show for the last several years. Last night, we started seeing every storyline. We started to see it get developed with time, effort, and everybody took a breath, took a beat, and let it develop. Man, when you do that, great things are going to happen. It just takes that time. It takes the effort. It takes that creativity. Don't be lazy. It deserves all of that. We deserve it. These superstars deserve it. I just love seeing it, guys. I really, really did. You know, I mean, again, I hate seeing Matt Hardy leaving WWE because the guy's got so much potential. And for Vince McMahon to lose a talent like Jeff Hardy, mind-boggling to me. But I'm not shocked anymore when it comes to Vince McMahon. This guy makes so many irrational, dumbass decisions. How can you be shocked? You know, should he go to AEW, I know that this is going to be the perfect marriage between the two. And perhaps we have not even seen the best of Matt Hardy. And that means Ultimate Deletion included. Because the guy is so brilliant, he can keep reinventing himself. Just like a Bray Wyatt would do. Chris Jericho, he's another one that comes to mind. They can constantly reinvent themselves and keep getting better than what they were before. But for Matt Hardy, this might be the best case scenario for him. Just leave WWE. For a lot of these superstars, the best case scenario is probably get the hell out of there. But for Randy Orton, man, this pumps him up even more when Edge does come back. Thought it was awesome. Next up, Aleister Black defeats Tozawa via the Black Mass in just 90 seconds. Black is just awesome. I mean, everything he does in that ring, even his promos lately, whether I totally understand them or not, he's just awesome. And that Black Mass is just becoming my favorite move in pro wrestling. It might actually be. I'll have to dedicate some more time into thinking about what is my favorite move in WWE, but I think it might be Black Mass. It's so devastating, and he performs it at such an elite level. And even he doesn't even need to just put on 90-second matches. The guy's an awesome wrestler, so he could put on a 90-minute match, and we're probably going to be just as captivated. Post-match, Black gets on the stick, and he warns the locker room that he's starting to feel like an animal locked in a cage. So he says, understand, if you come in here, it is not me in this metaphoric cage, it's the animal. So, I mean, he's taking that whole character now to another level. I'm loving this, man. So even a 90-second match was good last night. And usually I don't like those type of things. I don't feel anything's breathing naturally like it should be and letting it flow like it should be. Everything just one after the other was going beautifully, man. And then we went into the main event schmaz match. Again, what can I review about a schmaz match? What do you want me to say about an 8-man schmaz, guys? You want me to go over every move? Do you want me to just talk about the high spots? Listen, and again, if you don't know, the participants were the Raiders, Joe, and Owens versus the Architects of Pain, all 4 members. There's no way I can or even want to analyze this or review this. It's a schmaz match. There was lots of action. Everyone is a ping pong ball, basically. Everybody is trying to take the dive. Nobody is selling anything. And when it was all said and done, Buddy Murphy, pinned Samoa Joe for the W. Seth Rollins actually helped him out. There was a tap out going on or about to be. I think Murphy was actually tapping out. The referee had his back turned. Rollins snuck in for a stomp, and that allowed Murphy to get the pin. Other than that, I'm not going to go over anything else. This was 8 dudes having a match. What other way, how else can I describe it? It doesn't do anything. It doesn't evolve anything. What's it evolving, guys? A tag team championship match with Rollins and Murphy. Is it going to evolve a Viking Raiders versus AOP matchup? A singles match between Rollins and Joe, maybe? Again, we've already seen it in the past. Is it going to set up an Owens and Buddy Murphy match? Yeah, some of these matches will be good. But unless you're investing a real story behind it, I don't care. Unless you're spicing it up, I don't care. The past several weeks, we're just seeing them all come out and brawling with each other. Seen it, been there, done that. Spice it up, Vince. Rest of the show, awesome. These 8 individuals, they were used lacklusterly last night. Mediocre as mediocre can be. If you guys enjoyed it, that's awesome. Golf clap. I'll give you guys a golf. As long as you guys enjoyed it, that's all that matters. Yours truly, I need more out of these 8 superstars. If that's one of your biggest focal pointed stories, you better spice that up especially. You better have something real creative. A weird setup at the top of the show just to get us to a main event 8-man schmaz. That seems like really lazy booking to me. You knew better than that in the media. I want cliffhangers, Vince. I'm just kidding. I'm not actually that angry. That was a good show. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm talking about Monday Night Raw. That was a good show for the most part. Most of the segments had passion behind them, had intensity. Orton and Hardy, what? Shayna Baszler and Lynch, what? Even Humberto with this new mean streak. He will not let Garcia go on this one. MVP getting catapulted over his own lounge couch by Drew McIntyre. Becky's leaving with an ambulance, showing up with an ambulance. Asuka and Becky, by the way, match of the night, no question. 20 minutes they dedicated to them, and what a match for the championship. So we had a little bit of everything, man. You know, when you produce a good segment after a good segment after a good segment, you're probably going to end up with, here's a crazy concept, a good show. Amplify, man. Amplify, man. Get up. Get up. Yeah. Wow. 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 But for now, check you later.